One of the most beautiful aspects about the European culture was the abundance of parks and playgrounds made available to the public. This was a notable feature in every country we visited that stood out to us.
It was very apparent that the governments valued having lots of green space in areas that could be used for recreational sports, walking, and more.
The purpose of the parks and playgrounds around the different areas is to increase the physical activity levels of adults and children who reside in these areas.
They are meant to better the health of these people by providing available outdoor space that is aesthetically appealing, making it more welcoming to participate in activities outdoors rather than living sedentary lifestyles.
These parks increase the walkability scores because they are placed in the middle of busy cities to make walking and biking a more desirable and better alternative to driving. The combination of more walking and available areas for sport directly affects physical activity levels in these cities and the population's overall health.
While in Amsterdam, it was obvious that biking was the most prevalent form of physical activity. The average of 2 bikes per person was a statistic that stood out to us. We used this information to compare the city of Amsterdam to the American city of Santa Monica, California, because based on WalkingScore.com, Santa Monica is the most bikeable city in the States. We can assume that with a biking score of 84 in Santa Monica, that Amsterdam's biking score is also similar, if not a lot higher.
This seems to be a big focus in the European culture, and it is very different from the American culture where we have tons of cars and rely so much on automotive transportation. It is important to highlight these differences because we can see the impact of it in the population's health.
America has some of the largest people in the world battling with obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. A lot of these problems can be prevented with the introduction of more physical activity, but our cities do not favor walking or riding bikes due to the lack of parks with open spaces or parks with recreational play as much as European cities do. This is especially important for the younger generations to start living healthier lifestyles and creating a new precedent.
The parks around European cities also offer exercise equipment for adults, which is rarely seen in the States. Making these areas available gives more incentive to use them, and if there are enough parks near communities, then the introduction of sports wouldn't seem as uncommon. Sports could be seen as an alternative form of recreational physical activity and not just for higher level athletes.
One thing that is difficult about living in the area we do is just finding open green spaces to play recreational sports. You always have to drive a distance to find a field, but in Europe it's easy to walk to a nearby park or open space that is within a couple of miles.
During our time in Europe, we observed a direct correlation between the amount of green space available for daily activities and exercise and the prevalence of physically healthy individuals. With the U.S. looking to promote exercise and healthy living, implementing more parks and playgrounds like the one seen on our trip would cause a shift from an inactive and obese population to a more fit and activity-driven society.
And filled with more happy days.